Hello and welcome to another weekly vlog. I think this is going to be a weekly vlog in maybe just a few days. I don't know, it depends on how much I film. It is Sunday today. It is the 10th of August. So we're nearly middle of August and I have a lot of stuff on my August to-do list that I haven't done yet. August is a month where I have no workshops. I've had one magazine deadline and one submission deadline, design submission deadline. And I have another workshop submission deadline at the end of the month or in 2 weeks time, and I have a magazine deadline early in September. So those are kind of in the back of my mind a little bit, but I thought I would film another weekly vlog. I'm going to show you what I get up to this week. I'm planning to work on some new designs. I need to make lining for a new clutch bag. I need to release another pattern this week. I need to decide which pattern I'm going to release this week. And I'm working on a workshop proposal for an event next year. So I need to decide exactly which workshops I'm going to submit for that. And I'm working on some patterns. I haven't decided which patterns I'm going to focus on this week. Oh, and I'm working on I've started a new pattern for a workshop I'm teaching early in September. And I promised my tech editor I would try and finish it this week so that I can get it to her by the end of this week so she can start working on it next week so we can have the pattern ready by early September. So lots to be getting on with. I'll show you the pattern I'm knitting later, but lots to getting on with. I don't really know what you're going to see in this video, but I hope you enjoy it. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. This video will be released sometime in August. Don't know exactly when, probably around the middle of August sometime, just depends on what else crops up. My Tuesday videos, but August is my birthday month. It is not for another 2 weeks from when I'm filming this, so it's end of the month. But I am offering 15% off all my online courses, including continental knitting, finishing techniques, Scandinavian stranded colourwork and steeking, successful lace knitting, successful brioche knitting, and successful socks. So 15% off all of those, and 15% off all my all the stuff on my website. So all the yarn, notions, beads, my books, beaded lace knitting, and easy lace knits. So go to www.YarnAddict.co.uk and you can see everything that's on my website. And if you click on workshops and online courses, you can also see all the links to my online courses there. I'll put the discount code on the screen and it'll also be linked in the description box below. So do go and check that out. Valid till the end of the month. A year ago, May last year, I was in Norway and I crocheted a clutch bag. I wanted it to be the same size as my glamour clutch. Let me just grab a glamour clutch so I can show you. I've got a glamour clutch here, but I've got a colour clutch which is the same size as the glamour clutch. I wanted it to be that size. It is not that size. The base is about the same size and the sides are, I think, about the same size, a little bit less maybe. But when I came yesterday to put the clutch frame in, it didn't fit. Basically the fabric wasn't stretchy enough to go around the clutch frame. May have worked if it was knitted, because knitting is a lot more stretchy. But luckily I had these smaller clutch frames from my festival clutch. So I grabbed one of those. I tried sewing the bigger clutch frame on first. So that's the difference. Hang on. That's the difference between the two clutch frames. I tried to sew on the bigger clutch frames on first, but it just wouldn't fit. So I went upstairs and grabbed one of the festival clutch frames, and that fits just fine. I made this when I was on holiday in Norway last year. In May last year. I got the yarn in Norway. I can't remember what it is, and I may have it written down somewhere, I don't know, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I had some yarn left over and I left that in Norway. When I came to sew this together last night, I really wanted this crochet bit at the top to go all the way over, but I made it too short. So the pattern carries on onto here. I'm not going to turn this into a pattern, I don't think. Or if you'd like me to turn this into a pattern, let me know. I basically did a 3-color, I think it's called linen stitch. It's all doubles. And it did take a long time. So I started with the base, which is just working rows back and forth in doubles. So I'm talking in British crochet terms, so singles in American crochet terms. And then I did this 3-color linen stitch, which is fairly easy to do, but because it's doubles, it just takes a long time. And I'm not that happy with where I joined. Can you see here? That's where my round basically joined. It just does not look nice. If I turn it inside out, you can see it more. I did struggle a bit with the round joint, and I had to keep going around and counting because I'm a bit rusty when it comes to crochet. So I don't know if I can be bothered to turn this into a pattern. I don't know how good my notes are from making this because it is over a year ago, and I don't know if I want to make it again because it was quite time consuming. It was a bit time consuming to make it, but I do want to finish it. Now, I haven't got around to making the lining. Yesterday, I was making the lining for another clutch bag that I've just finished, which I'm not going to talk about because I'll be talking about that in the podcast this week, which will go out before this video. But I finished this week, so I sewed that on, made the lining. As I was doing the lining, I actually made 3 linings in one go, because I thought I can use one of them for this one, and then I have a spare one because I'm thinking about doing another brioche clutch. It is Sunday, it's gone 12:30. I've done a few chores this morning and had a bit of a lie because I didn't sleep very well last night. So I'm going to go and sit in the garden now and work on my Intarsia project. I also yesterday had a look at some of my old crochet workshops I used to teach, because I was asked recently if I teach crochet workshops, and I used to, but I haven't for a long time. And I was looking at filet crochet, which is one of the workshops I used to teach. I don't see anyone teaching filet crochet very often. So, in fact, I'm not sure I've ever seen anyone else teach filet crochet. It probably is a little bit dated, but it's basically like a grid that you can use to create different patterns. You can have the grids open or fill them in. So I worked up this is the swatch from my filet crochet class, where we just learn all the techniques. And then I had 2 designs which I never published because I just used them for my class. And it's this heart-shaped one, and you basically finish one, then you crochet into the top here and make another one, and you can make it as long as you want. I think I made it into a cow. And then I had this one which I made into an infinity scarf. I don't know what's happened to the original samples. Can't find them anywhere. I thought they might be in my workshop boxes, but they're not. This one uses basic grid stitches and filled in stitches, just a diamond in the middle, but it also uses lacets and diamond lacets to make it look a bit more lacy. So I worked up on those the last couple of days and I blocked them. I was thinking about working up one of them as a pattern. I might do that one first because it's a simpler one of the 2. I'm not 100% happy with the diamond one, so I think I have to make some alterations to the chart. I don't know whether to go for it in Yatagara Merino Cotton, which is a yarn I stock, so I can have it as shows and everything, or whether to go for Spectrum Fibre. This is from their Fibre Club or Yarn Club at the beginning of last year. It's June last year, June 2024. Or I've got this one from Truly Hooked, which I was actually thinking about using for this if I decide to turn this into a pattern. So I kind of want to do that. I've really been missing doing crocheting. I finished my last crochet garment 2.5 weeks ago, when I was still in Norway. And I have been missing crocheting since then, so I would like to get the crochet project back on the needles. But I need to finish the Intarsia project first. So this afternoon, I'm mainly going to do that. It is Monday morning, mid-morning, about nearly midday. I have already done quite a bit of work today. I try and start work about 8 o'clock or just after 8 o'clock. I think it's about 8:15 this morning. And I wrote up the pattern for this brioche clutch bag. I'd already written like a draft pattern, skeleton pattern, but it basically only included like what I did for the first couple of rounds of the brioche part of the pattern. So I've written all that up, and it's ready to go to my tech editor. Came back from walking Alfie, had a break, did a bit of knitting, a bit of scrolling on my phone, and then come up to my office and a bit of admin stuff. And now I'm going to write the rest of this pattern. So this is an Intarsia scarf I'm working on. And it's got shaping at the end. It's going to be the same shape as my Bergen scarf. And I need to basically reverse the chart for the first section, so I have decreases for the final section. I have basically one more row of the purple, then I've got the pink. I got from that there to there, equivalent to knit, and then I need to start decreases. So I should get this finished today. I wanted to get the pattern ready to go to my tech editor next week, so that shouldn't be a problem. So I'm just going to do the pattern now. And then also I need to decide what to cast on next. I do have a couple of projects downstairs that I could knit on, but they're not priority projects at the moment. So I'm thinking about doing another brioche clutch. I was thinking about knitting this in another colour, but I do have a brioche stitch pattern charted out that I fancy trying. So I might just see if I can fit that into the template for this, because I have 2 sets of lining I can use. I do fancy getting another brioche bag on the go. That should be fairly quick. If I cast it on tonight or tomorrow, I should be able to finish it this week, I think. I also need to film some tutorials this week, and tutorials take a little bit of prep time. So I want to do a single colour brioche tutorial, because this one at the top is still brioche, but it's only one colour. There's a light blue on that side, and it's a dark blue on that side. So, and I haven't done a tutorial for single colour brioche. It's really easy, but if you've only done 2 colour brioche, it might be a bit confusing. So my plan is to do a tutorial for that, so that's ready for when this pattern comes out in September, hopefully. And I'm also thinking about doing a cable tutorial, because I have a cable pattern coming out in the magazine sometime this autumn. And what I'm thinking about doing is a cable without a cable needle tutorial, because I never use cable needles anymore. I haven't used cable needles for years. I used to teach a cable workshop, but I haven't taught it for a long time. But I've done a few cables recently for magazines in the last year or so, and I got one coming out at some point this autumn. Can't remember which magazine it is, when it is, or what it is. But I do remember I was knitting cables not that long ago. So I want to chart up a cable pattern and get ready for that tutorial. So my plan is this afternoon or this evening at some point, knit a little swatch for the start of a single colour brioche tutorial, and then film it tomorrow and do the same thing for the cable pattern. Knit a little swatch tonight to kind of set it up, so that tomorrow afternoon after lunch I can film it. Anyway, brioche. I do have quite a few brioche tutorials on my website or on my YouTube channel already for 2 colour brioche in the round, fixing brush mistakes, fixing drop brioche stitches. And I also have my online course, Successful Brioche Knitting, which is 15% off till the end of August. Little plug in there. So I'm going to do this chart for the Intarsia project. It's about an hour working. And I have written up a new brioche clutch pattern. So it's following the basic template of this one, except I've added a stitch pattern and I've made it all one main colour. So it'll be pink as the main colour. So pink where that one is navy, and then that as the background colour will be the same all the way around. So I've written that up, the whole pattern, and charted up the chart and everything, so that when I finish this Intarsia scarf, I can cast on for that. Maybe this evening, maybe tomorrow. I have not done the cable chart that I was going to do. But I can do that later, so that's okay. It is Tuesday morning and nearly lunchtime. I started work a little bit late this morning because I did a bit of ironing and stuff first. So I'm just opening some yarn that's arrived. So I've had some yarn arrive for a magazine design, which is due next month, 4 weeks from today, I think. So I think I'm going to knit this myself because it's not that big. So I'm going to take this downstairs with me in a minute and do a bit of swatching and then cast on later this week. But that's the yarn that has arrived. I'm a little bit worried about the contrast between the two colours, but I will knit a swatch and then we'll see what it's like. I'm very pleased it's arrived. Apologies for the noise. I've also finished last night my Intarsia scarf. So it's a very simple Intarsia scarf, just with some colour blocks. I need to put a button on it. I did find the button. I found the button, I put it on my desk and now it's gone. So I need to find the button. Okay, let's try this on, see if I can manage to not interfere with my mic. So it's the same kind of shape as my Bergen scarf, which is mosaic. I have to take off my mic because otherwise I think it's going to interfere with it. So it's going to be like that with a button down here to fasten it. So I quite like that. That looks just like I envisaged it. Let me just put my mic back on. The problem I had was, which I didn't think about when I wrote a pattern. So at the beginning, it starts with 6 rows of grey, and at the end, it finishes with 4 rows of pink, plus just 1 row of grey and then a cast off row. I would have liked for the ends to match, so it finished with 6 rows of grey on both sides. But the way I planned it, once I'd finished that strip of pink, I had the right number of stitches that I had cast on. So that annoys me a little bit because I like things to be symmetrical, but also I'm not fixing it. I could go back and pick a couple of rows from the beginning and add a couple of rows to the end and things like that, but I'm not doing that because it's one of those tiny little details. So when you're wearing it, I don't think anyone will notice it, but I know it's probably going to annoy me, but I'm not going to go back and fix it. So that's that. I also want to film some tutorials after lunch if my dining room isn't too hot. It's really hot today. I took the dog out earlier and it was really, really hot outside. I went out about 9:30, no, just before 10, I think, and it already felt really hot. So we just did a short walk up through the park. He wasn't very keen to go out. He was fast asleep in his bed and didn't want to come out with me. But we went for a short walk around, not very long because it was really, really hot. So I tried to stay in the shade and on the grass, so it'd be less hot for him. I'm getting ready now to film some tutorials. So I've been sitting outside, just out there, had my lunch and knitting, so I've knitted a cable swatch. Probably shouldn't have chosen purple, but anyway. And then I've done a brioche swatch. My setup for my tutorials is on my dining room table. I have this wooden board which I bought years ago. I can't remember where I got it from. Somebody in a Facebook group I was in or something, I think. It's white on the other side, and I used to use the white, but I find this side better. I'm thinking about painting the white like a pale grey, because I don't like using the white anymore. I just find it difficult with the colour balance and stuff. I got that ring light, which when I bought it, because it has a phone thing in it, I thought I could use that to film, but it just doesn't work for what I want. So I've got that there with a big battery pack because the lead isn't long enough to reach my nearest plug. That needs charging up because that's on the last light. Had this battery pack for years. It's really big and heavy, so I don't use it for like out and about. I use it when I do shows to charge up my phone and PayPal card reader and those kind of things. And then I've also prepped some brioche knitting. I think I'm going to do brioche knitting first because that's on a Lantern Moon needle, and the cable is on a Lykke needle. And I think the Lantern Moon is a little bit pointier than the Lykke needles, and I just think it's going to be easier to do the tutorial for the cables with the slightly pointier needles. So that's what I'm going to do, and that's my tripod, the tabletop tripod. That's my dress form over there. Tabletop tripod. You can adjust the height and things. Had this for years. Bought it many years ago. It's quite big, and it's just a miniature version of a full-size tripod, really. But I find it really useful for filming. So I'm going to set up now and film these 2 tutorials. Then I need to go upstairs and film the introduction, and then I might try and edit them while I'm sitting out in the garden doing some more knitting. It is Thursday evening, and I was intending to do a bit of filming today, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Been quite a busy day. I've had another night of not very much sleep. Second night in a row, so I'm quite fed up with this. I had a telephone appointment with my doctor, or a doctor, locum doctor this morning, to talk about my HRT. I overheat and I sweat a lot. I get very hot doing very minor things. When I'm teaching, if I'm walking around the room helping people, especially in the morning, I'm worse in the morning than in the afternoon. I get very hot if even if the room isn't particularly hot and I'm wearing less clothes, light clothes, I get really hot, which is embarrassing. Like this morning when I walked the dog, I was cold when I left here. By the time I walked 5 minutes on flat, and I've hurt my right foot a little bit, so I was walking fairly slow, I was sweating. And it wasn't that warm this morning, so it's just embarrassing. Pilates class yesterday, and Pilates is, you can feel you've been working. It's hard work on your muscles, but it's low impact, and a lot of it is lying on the floor doing exercises. And I was sweating so much that you could see the sweat through my green t-shirt yesterday, and it's just getting really embarrassing. And I did an e-consult with the doctor last week, and I had a telephone appointment this morning, so we're going to try a different HRT and see how that works. I'm not convinced it is a hormone related thing, but we'll see. So I couldn't film my podcast first thing this morning like I normally do because I had to keep the phone free for the doctor to call me back, and then I filmed the podcast, edited it, walked the dog, did a bit of other work, and then I decided to call the surgery to check if my prescription was ready to be collected. I was number 6 in the queue when I rang. I was on hold for over an hour before I got through. Last week when I rang to book another appointment, I was number 16 in the queue, and they had a thing where I could press the button for them to call me back, so they called me back a few hours later. But that wasn't an option today, so I feel like I wasted a lot of my morning, but I did get quite a bit done as well. But I don't feel like I've been very efficient today because I'm so tired. Then this afternoon I went to the gym. Because my foot is hurting a bit and I don't know why. It's the foot I've had plantar fasciitis in twice, but I don't think it's plantar fasciitis because the pain's in a slightly different place. but I don't know what it is. And it was hurting me when I walked the dog this morning. So when I got to the gym, instead of doing any cardio, I just did weights and some floor exercises for like Pilates, core exercises, stretches, that kind of thing. So I worked quite hard, but I didn't do any cardio today. But I do have a spin class tomorrow, and I did a spin class on Tuesday. I haven't done a lot of knitting today either. I said on the podcast this morning when I filmed it that I wasn't feeling this brioche pattern. So this brioche pattern is based on this swatch, which I did, hang on, which way around is it? Which I did earlier in the week. No, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was. I really like this, but it's a different type of yarn. I'm not sure what yarn it is actually. It was something that came out of my stash or my leftover box. But I really like that. So I was trying to do that, but it just doesn't knit up very nicely in this yarn. It's too, can you see here? It's too kind of spread out, too holy here. So, and this is DK yarn on 3.25mm needles. So I've decided to rip this out. I'm going back to the base. I'm not going to redo the base. And then I'm going to do this instead. But I'm going to do it in that pink, the darker pink, and purple. I don't want to do it in the darker pink and the light pink because I feel like the light pink is just going to get dirty quickly. And originally I had thought about doing it in the pink and the purple. So I'm going to unravel back to the base. This has a few more stitches than this one. I was thinking about, instead of having it one colour one side and one the other, to do it the same colour all the way around. But I think I'm going to do the two colours with the pink and the purple, because they're my two favourite colours. I haven't done a lot of knitting this afternoon because I've just been really tired. I was sitting scrolling on my phone for a while and then trying to do a bit of knitting, but I just wasn't feeling this pattern. And yeah, I've decided to rip that. I'm very tempted to start this crochet project as well that I've been thinking about, but I think I'm going to stick with this for the weekend, and then next week I'm going to have to start on a new version of this. If I remember, I might talk a bit more about that tomorrow, but I did talk about it on the podcast this week, which will be out before this. So that's it. Don't feel like I've had a very productive day, although I did deal with a few emails and things. I also voted in the Norwegian election today. So it's Norwegian general elections in September. I didn't vote for most of the time I've lived here, but I voted in the last general election. I voted in there was a general election after I turned 18, or the year I turned 18. And I wasn't in Norway on election day, but I voted in advance because I was in the States when the actual election was. So I voted in advance. And I voted in the last general election in Norway 4 years ago. So this will only be the third general election I've ever voted in, because I can't vote in British general elections. My daughters have also been sent voting papers because they're Norwegian citizens and they're planning to vote. So I filled in my voting slip today, packed it all up, ready to post it to Norway, because I think the deadline is fairly soon. So I'm pleased to have got that done. If I lived close to London, I could have voted at the Norwegian embassy. In fact, I should have checked, because I might have been able to do that when I was in London coming back from Norway last time. I may not even be able to do it in Norway. I don't know. I don't know how early they open early voting. But in Norway, you can either vote early or you can vote by post. So when I was in Norway 2 years ago, I guess it was, there was Norwegian local elections. I couldn't vote in the local elections because I don't live in Norway. But I went with my parents, and they had a voting office set up in the local shopping centre that was open every afternoon. And then they had a voting station set up in the town hall that was open all day. So you could go and vote in the weeks leading up to the election. So I'm going to go downstairs now. Simon started making dinner, so I'm going to have dinner, do a bit of unravelling and hopefully re-knitting. And then we're going to go grocery shopping. And we've been watching this series on the streaming platform called You. And it's called The First Lady. It's about Michelle Obama, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Betty Ford. And it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I think we only have 1 or 2 episodes left. So hopefully we might watch an episode of that tonight. Good morning. It is Friday. I am, what is it? It's gone 9:30, so I need to walk the dog in a minute. I have listed a new pattern this morning, this Mitritz square cushion called Square It Off. I realized when I was listing it that I've now published a pattern for 3 cushions in a row. So maybe I should have gone for one of the scarves I was planning to publish instead. One of the scarves, I think I only have one scarf I was going to publish, so maybe I should have gone for that instead, but we went with a cushion. I've listed it on Ravelry and Payhip. Listing it on Ravelry and Payhip took me about 20 minutes in total. I started on Ravelry because there's a lot more you need to add on Ravelry. And then when I've copied everything I need to copy from the pattern into the notes section on the Ravelry pattern page, I then copy and paste that into the Payhip kind of description box, and then I have to add all the links to various things, upload the pattern, upload the photos. I've done a discount code. I don't know if this video will be out before that discount code runs out, because it runs out on 25th of August, and this may not be out till the week after. But hopefully you're watching my podcast and sign up to my newsletter, and then you'll know about it anyway. And so I've done all that, and then I wrote my newsletter and scheduled that. So my podcast is scheduled to go out this afternoon. My newsletter is scheduled to go out this afternoon. I'm going to go and walk the dog because it's sunny today, so I'm thinking it might be quite hot. So I'm going to go and walk the dog. I wanted to walk him a bit earlier, but I wanted to get the newsletter and stuff done. So I'm going to walk the dog. Apologies if you can hear any background noise. My husband is, he's rented this machine this morning that basically bores down into the ground so you can put new fence posts in, and he's doing a section in the back garden at the moment, and then he's going to do some stuff at the front of the house. I would like to film a tutorial this afternoon because as I was publishing that pattern, I thought of a tutorial that might be useful, so I'd like to film that this afternoon, but it depends on one, how hot our dining room table is or dining room area is this afternoon, but it's too hot to film it, and also how much noise Simon is making. If he's still working at the back, then he might be too noisy because he'll be right outside the dining room window. If he's at the front, then that should be okay. I also have another video I'd like to film, but I need to write some notes about that. And I need to get through some emails this week because I'm really behind on emails. And I've got some urgent ones I need to sort out. I also got possibly a bit of eye infection this morning. I don't know whether you can see. Yesterday when I came back from the gym, no, it was yesterday evening, we came back from grocery shopping. I looked in the mirror and I noticed my left eye was quite red. And I was quite red a few weeks ago as well. Probably end of May, a couple of months ago. And I thought it was conjunctivitis, so I got some eye drops from the doctor. I did use an eye ointment for the last 3 nights, last night, the night before, the last 2 nights, that I haven't used for a long time because I don't like it, but it is quite moisturizing. My eyes have been quite dry. So it might just be because that lasts for 6 months, and I don't think it's been in my cupboard for longer than 6 months, or it's been open for longer than 6 months. But I use so many different eye drops. I have like 3 different ones on prescription, plus I've got some up over the counter because I've got really dry eyes. So I'm wondering whether I've had a reaction to that, because that happened once before when I didn't realize that they had a limited time period on them. Once you open it, you have to use them within a certain period of time. And I didn't realize that, and I used one that was out of date, and it made my eyes go red. So it might just be that, I don't know. I binned it just in case, and then I've done an e-consult with the doctor to say, do I have conjunctivitis? Because this morning, that eye's a bit red as well. And yes, I know I got eye makeup on this morning, and you shouldn't do that if it's conjunctivitis. But the eye pencil I've used this morning is one where you have to sharpen it with the pencil sharpener. So I put it on that eye first because that's better than that eye. Then I sharpened it to get off all the stuff that actually touched my eyes. So I'm hoping that'll be okay. I did that last time I had conjunctivitis as well, which I'm wondering now whether it was conjunctivitis, whether he was using that eye ointment. I don't know. It is Sunday morning, and I just realized I never actually finished this video on Friday like I planned to. Can't remember what I filmed on Friday because I haven't watched through it yet. But I went out after lunch on Friday to run some errands. And then when I got home, it was just too hot to come up here. This room gets really hot in the afternoon. So I didn't bother, and I thought I'll finish it on Saturday because I thought we're probably not going to do a lot on Saturday. We went to spin class in the morning, and I was just really wiped out afterwards. so exhausted afterwards. I don't know why. I always am after spin class on Saturday. It's, as I think I've shared earlier in this vlog, I'm not sleeping well at the moment. I'd had 2 good nights sleep, and then last night I was awake again. It seems to be 2 good nights, 1 bad night. So I'm hoping that will resolve itself in the next couple of weeks with some new HRT medication. Anyway, I didn't do a lot on Saturday. I did cast on for a new project, which I'll show you in a minute. So we didn't do a lot yesterday. We decided to just have a quiet day, chill in the garden. But it was so windy out there. It's very windy today as well. I don't know if you can see, but some of the stuff on the notice board behind me is blowing around in the wind, because it's also quite hot in here. So I got the window open, so there's a bit of a breeze blowing through. But it was so windy yesterday. I went to sit in the garden in the afternoon, and then we have a new parasol, and it's quite tall and quite big. And we have a really heavy, like a concrete base for it that we bought for an old parasol. And it blew over twice. When we're not using the parasol, we have to close it down, and we bought like a cover for it. Well, the cover acts a bit like a sail when it's windy. So we actually have to lay it down so it doesn't blow down and break, because it wasn't cheap parasol. So I was sitting there, and the parasol blew over twice. So I was worried about it breaking, and it was a bit too hot to sit in the sun. And also I was worried about parasol actually blowing on me and knocking me out, or blowing into the patio doors behind me. I also had a bowl of popcorn for my mid-afternoon snack, and I'd eaten like half of it. It was just a small like cereal bowl of popcorn, and I'd eaten about half of it, and then suddenly the rest of it just blew out around me onto the path. So I decided that maybe I would go and sit inside instead. So didn't sit in the garden for that long, ran some errands, but I did cast on a new project, which is what I can tell you about before I finish this video. So let's have a look at this. So I was saying that I needed to get cast on with this project soon, because I want to re-knit it in Yatka merino cotton. But knitting, I remember knitting this last December. It took a long time because it's quite big, and I have a deadline project for early September, like end of the first week of September, beginning of the second week. Yarn has arrived, but I wasn't happy with one of the 2 colors together. I didn't think there was enough contrast for what I'm doing, so they're actually sending me new. They're replacing one of the colors with a darker color. So I'm waiting for that to come. So I've knitted a swatch. So Tuesday, because I'm not working tomorrow, Tuesday I'm probably going to write the pattern and work out how many stitches to cast on, all that kind of stuff, so that as soon as the new yarn arrives, I can get started. It's not a massive project, so hopefully it shouldn't take me that long to knit, but when it does come, I have to focus on it. So yesterday I thought, if I'm going to get a new version of this finished for Yarndale, which is what I want, I need to really get cracking with it. And I was looking to see how I can make it smaller, because I decided that it was too big. Well, it's not too big, but I thought it's going to be quicker to knit a smaller version. And knitting a smaller version will also let me check some of the pattern details, because I finished this like literally the day before I went to Norway, at the end of last year, when my mum was in hospital with a broken hip, and I had to go. Had a phone call 4 o'clock one afternoon, and I had to go the next day. And we actually had to leave at like 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, I think it was, we left. So I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, and I finished that bag that evening, all the knitting on it, and then I did the rest when I came home. So some of the pattern details may be a bit sketchy because I didn't write them up straight away. When I actually looked at the pattern, it's more complete than I thought it was. But I was thinking maybe I can make a smaller version. So I looked to see if I halved it, but I think that'd be too small. So I'm basically making this a third smaller. So that's the base. So it's about a third smaller, I think. I think I divided the stitches by 3, and then I had to up it a little bit for the to get the right number of stitches for the stitch count. Yeah, so it's about, hang on, I don't think it's always easy to see that. It's about a third smaller. So that hopefully should knit up a bit quicker. I decided to go for the charcoal grey because I really like that colour. Now I'm working on some mosaic mittens using that charcoal grey and this colour, and I really like how they knit up together. They look really, really good together, and I really, really like it. So I thought I will go for the same colour, but I wanted more than 2 colours. So I thought, as this is quite light, I will go for another light colour. So I went for this pastel pink. I think it's just called pink. And I knitted base and picked up, because the base is knitted flat, and I picked up stitches around, and I did 3 rounds with this as the contrast colour. Then I did 1 round with this, and I was like, no, I don't like it. It looks too washed out. It's not as bright as I wanted it. I did consider just using this, but I wanted more than 1 colour. I wanted it to be a bit brighter. So I had some pink downstairs, so I took out the light pink and substituted the brighter pink, magenta. Where is it? So I took magenta and this one. I think they look okay together, but I was very worried that the blue was a little bit light for the bright magenta, and I really like pink and green together. So after the base, when I picked up for the body, I did 1 round of stocking stitch before I started the colour work. So I picked right back to after that round of stocking stitch, and I started with the pink, and then so I'm doing 3 rounds of pink, 3 rounds of green, 3 rounds of pink, and I'm on the first round of green again. And I really like that. It's quite bright. I'm also thinking about doing a 2 colour version with the purple as the main colour and that as the contrast colour, because I really like those 2 together. And then I would have the yarn amounts for a 2 colour version for those who don't want to do 3. So I am considering asking one of my sample knitters if they can do that, because then I could possibly get both of them ready for Yarndale. But I want to get a bit of a head start on this first. I'd like to get like at least half of it done, just so I know I'm happy with it. And then I will ask one of my sample knitters if they have time to do the other one. And then I might be able to get them both ready for Yarndale. We'll see. So that's kind of my priority project at the moment. I was working on it during the day yesterday, but in the evening we decided to watch telly. We are watching a series on You, which is a streaming service here in the UK. It's on our smart telly, and it's a really good series on there. I'm really enjoying it. I may have mentioned it earlier in the blog, I can't remember. We were watching Atlantic Crossing, which is about the Norwegian royal family in World War II, and the Norwegian crown princess, who's the mother of the current king of Norway. He was 4 years old at the start of World War II, and how they fled the king and the crown prince, tried to stay in Norway for a bit, according to this. I don't know how accurate this is. And then they flew to England, and the crown princess and the children went to Sweden because she was a Swedish princess before she married the Norwegian crown prince. So they went to Sweden to stay with her uncle, the king of Sweden. And I don't know if what's being portrayed in this series is true, but the Swedish king does not come across very well. And basically, it sounds like he was collaborating with the Nazis, with Hitler. I don't know how true that is. If you're Swedish, let me know what you think. But I know there's always been a bit of a thing between Norwegians and Swedish. But this thing they do not portray the Swedish royal family very well. Her parents came across well, I think, and her brother, I think it's her brother, but not her uncle, the Swedish king at the time. So anyway, they go to the States. Eventually they get evacuated to the States. She's very close to Franklin Roosevelt. They actually lived in the White House for a little bit before they got their own rental house or estate, manor house, whatever it is. And there's definitely a bit of a thing that Roosevelt had a bit of a romantic interest in her, but there isn't. I don't think the series actually show any of that happening. I watched it in 2020 when I was in Norway, but we're watching again now, and I wasn't sure the son would like it, but it would be too kind of the crown, because he wasn't that keen on that. But he's really enjoying it. So we watched 2 episodes of that last night. And trying to knit colour work when I'm also watching television. Now I did part of it is in Norwegian, some in Danish, some in Swedish, some in English. So all the characters speak their own language. So the Norwegian king at the time was Danish, so he speaks Danish. The crown prince was Norwegian, so he speaks Norwegian. Most of the other characters in Norway are Norwegian, obviously. The crown princess was Swedish, so she speaks Swedish with probably a mixture of Swedish and Norwegian. Sounds more Norwegian when she's speaking to her children, for example. And then the British royal family who are in it, and the American people who are in it speak English. So it's, if you're not Norwegian or Scandinavian, I can understand Swedish and Danish, struggle a bit with Danish, but what's in this film I can understand. And obviously I can understand English, so I can watch it without reading the subtitles. All the non-English bits are subtitled automatically, but I can watch it without the subtitles. But obviously when you're watching a drama, you want to be able to see the screen. It's not like watching, I don't know, the news or something where you can just listen. So I stopped working on this last night when we started watching that because I had to concentrate more, and I went back to working on my brioche clutch bag, which I haven't brought upstairs. I'll talk about that in my podcast this week and probably next week. I don't know whether this is going to be out on Tuesday or the following week. I haven't decided yet. So at least this is on the needles, and until my yarn comes to my deadline project, this will be my priority project. But in the evening when we're watching telly, because I think we're about halfway through this series. So we watched 2 episodes last night. So hopefully we might watch 2 tonight, at least 1 tonight, maybe 2. So when we're working on watching that in the evening, I'll work on the brioche cowl, and when I'm knitting during the day, I'll work on this project. But I'm really enjoying it. Nice to do a bit of colour work again, because I haven't done that for a little bit, I don't think. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Leave me a comment and let me know what you're working on. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.